Hello, 49ers fans. I am not as happy as I sound. If I sound happy, I am not. What a disappointing season this has been, especially after last year. And oh man, I really thought that last year we had to win it. It was the stars were aligned, the unicorn was there, everybody was healthy, everybody was having great seasons, and just felt like everything was going in our favor. And just a heartbreaking loss at the end there. Really heartbreaking. That was just really tough. So what this is going to be is this is going to be a multi-part series, and it's going to be a lot. And I originally recorded one long video, but it's just too long and there's not enough detail for each season, I think. So I'm going to break it down in a season by season run through and then a summary and effectively what it is. And it's born out of a conversation I had with a long time close friend, somebody I've been friends with longer than I haven't been friends with in terms of my total life. And he and I are both 49ers fans and have been for a long, long time. And after the games, we get together and just have a chat about the games. And there's been a kind of an overriding theme that we don't do well in the fourth quarter. We don't seem to do well in the red zone, and last year was a bit of an exception, but they're just we always get together and have a bit of a rant because it never feels like the games are safe. And part of the discussion was, what like the fourth quarter, it always feels like we're on pins and needles just trying to hold everything together and let the clock run out, and it doesn't feel like we're on top of things. It doesn't feel like we're aggressive. It doesn't feel like things go our way. And we're not, we had some discussions about is it the play calling? Is it like what is it? And I've had this feeling for a while, and Kyle Shanahan is a great coach, but I don't know what it is, but it does not feel like in the fourth quarter we are in a good place to be able to close out the game. So part of this video and this entire series will be based on that conversation and me going in and taking a bit of time to break out some of the box scores and understand how we're operating throughout Kyle's tenure, which is 2017 to 2024. So Kyle's first year was 2017. And so effectively what I did, and I'll bring it up here and we'll start with 2017. So this will be the 2017 season. So this will be the Kyle Shanahan's tenure retrospective. Sorry, not 10-year, but tenure retrospective. And how we've been doing in the box scores since he took over the team. And again, I think there's lots of good things Kyle does, but one of the things that, even my good buddy and I were chatting about in this last series was, why are we putting Christian in and it's a snow game and we're just like handing him the ball like he's fine, like he just got back from an injury. It's his first game. In my opinion, we should have been running Garendo and Mason way more in that game and letting, quite frankly, I don't even know if we should have even been playing McCaffrey much considering the traction we had and his injuries and the fact he's just back. And so it's those types of things. So let's get into this, and I'll probably start off with a bit of a rant at the start of everything, and then we'll do a season at a time. So it's going to be like probably an 8 or 9 part series. And but I apologize for that, but I feel like it's probably better to do it that way, to break it out rather than try and break it out into a huge long video that is just it's just too much to watch at one time. So let's get started for 2017. This is the 2017 season. So what you're going to see here is the weeks, who we played, we're highlighted in red, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 box scores, overtime scores, the final score. The team records I felt were pretty important because it kind of gives us a sense of who we're playing, whether or not they're a good team or a team that's struggling, and then how that relates to our overall record. I thought it'd be interesting to have the attendance here because I was curious about how many sellouts the faithful had. The faithful are definitely attendees of the game, and you'll see that in a lot of this. And what I found was kind of the baseline was 70,100, and anything above that is basically a sellout. It seemed very consistent. Kind of fluctuates a bit, 70,100 to 70,600, depending, I guess, on how they do the seating. But it definitely is very consistent once we're over that 70,100 mark. So you'll see that here in green. And then column K is whether or not we were outscored in the fourth quarter, and that's merely to total it at the bottom to get a sense of how many games we were outscored in, and then same with it if we were in a playoff year. And then obviously this year was not a playoff year. 2017 was Kyle's first year. He had just taken over the team. We hadn't been in the Super Bowl since the Kaepernick days. And so, it's obviously a rebuilding point, but there are some interesting trend lines that I think can be identified, and you'll see that over this series is there's definitely some challenges in that fourth quarter. So let's get started. Year 2017. So week one, we fall to the Panthers 23-3. Can't do much. Not outscored in the fourth quarter, but don't score in the fourth quarter. Maybe that's a column I should add, is whether or not we even scored in the fourth quarter, because you'll see that in future seasons where we weren't even able to score in the fourth quarter in a lot of games, and that's a big problem when you're trying to close out games. So week two, outscored just by a field goal, nothing major, but still 0-2. Playing the Seahawks 1-1, not quite sold out, but obviously contributes to that game. Week three, we actually did really well there. 19 points to 7. We still lost, but, I guess the argument you could make is this, trash time stats where we were down so much, because at that point we would have been down by 34-20, were they even playing their best players. Weren't able to come back. 0-3. Rams were 2-1. Still a sellout crowd. We'll leave it. We won't scroll down until we get to week 9. So week 4, we did not score in the fourth quarter. You can see, what is that? That is 4 field goals. And again, it's not like the Cardinals did any better, but, red zone problems, not able to score touchdowns, not able to close the gap, and then eventually having to kick field goals, and then we lost it in overtime. Falling to 0-4. Cardinals beat us 18-15. Moving to week 5. Again, and it's interesting, because if you look at week 3 and week 5, we were doing. There's some games where we're able to do well in the fourth quarter, and we still lost that game to the Colts. Again, whether or not, I don't think that necessarily is trash time, because they were only up, it's at that point going into the fourth, it's 16-6. It's only a touchdown and a field goal. So, if you look at the Colts record, they're 2-3. So they're having a struggling season too, but we still weren't able to finish it out. And then there's interestingly, 2 overtime games in a row, which, as the series goes on, you'll see that there's no other point where we had 2 games like that in a row, but still weren't able to win. 0-5 to finish. Colts finished 2-3. Going into week 6, outscored by Washington 7-9. Lose that game by 2. Those 2 points were scored in the fourth quarter. So by quarter 3 in week 6 of 2017, it's 17-17, and then we get outscored in the fourth by 2 points. So that looks to either be a safety or a missed, extra point with a field goal. But either way, we lose to Washington 3-2, and Washington's never been a team known for, any exceptionalism, at least over a lot of the last little while. Obviously this year they're a very different team, and Jaden Daniels is proving to be, what will probably be a star. So by week 6, 0-6, playing a 3-2 team, still lose. Week 7, Cowboys blow the doors off us. We managed to at least score a touchdown in the last quarter, but you can see the middle quarters couldn't do anything. Basically, in the first 3 quarters, we got a field goal. And again, not even a touchdown. You can see if you go through a lot of these scores and we go back, week 2, 2 field goals in quarter 2, right up here. can see it right there. Right there. Then week 4. What's that? 4 field goals. Week 5, 2 field goals. At least there's a touchdown in week 6. Week 7, 1 field goal. So not great. Fall to 0-7. Not outscored, but we didn't outscore them in the fourth either. Week 8, same type of thing. Can't even score in the first 2. Down 17 by halftime. They score 10 more in the third, and we get our doors blown off for 0-8. And again, it's a rebuilding year. This probably wasn't our highest quality roster that we've had, but there's this overall pattern of, you can see in the first 9 games, we've been outscored in the fourth 5 of those games. Same thing with the Cards. Can't even score in the fourth. Another field goal if we go down to week 9. Another field goal. So second half, starting up, down 14-3. We managed to almost, get within, 4 points of them, and then they score 2 field goals on us. 0-9. Still a sellout. The faithful are still showing up, but another one to add to the list of being outscored in the fourth quarter. So what we'll do is we'll scroll down to week 10, and then we'll take a look at the totals at the end. So week 10, a bit better, where we managed to win this one. First win in the season. Week 10, we're 1-9, managed to beat a team that's 1-8. So, not ideal, but, at least get a win out of that one. Week 12, another one where we're outscored in the fourth, lose to the Seahawks. Week 13, another one. We managed to win this one by a point, but again, there's not a single touchdown there. If you look at these, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 field goals. 5 field goals to 2 touchdowns, and that's the only reason we won. And, thank goodness we were able to hold them off in the back half of the game. But again, that's just, not great red zone performance, and certainly not good. Good for the overall stats. And then you'll see we're 2-10 by this point, and they're 3-9. So they were actually better than us by that point. Texans, we managed to beat them, able to outscore them. Couple touchdowns in the middle of the game. That's good news. And, they were a 4-9. So at that point, they would have been a 4-8 team, and we would have been 2-9. So that's not a bad win. And then that is another sellout for us right there. That should be green. Moving on to 15, beaten by 1. Not horrible. Managed to at least, go toe-to-toe with them in that fourth quarter and pull out the win to a 4-10. Still outscored in the fourth by 1. Get down into the, week 16, and this one's kind of interesting because somehow we managed to blow the doors off the Jaguars, which were 10-5, which tells me they potentially weren't playing their best roster. 3 touchdowns in the fourth, 1 touchdown. So in the back half of the game, that's 4 touchdowns, and we went into the second half 16-16. So that's a good result, but obviously much too late to do much about a playoff run or anything like that. And then in the last game, we were able to blow the doors off the Rams, but they were 11-5, and they probably weren't playing their best roster. They're going to the playoffs at that point, and we're just trying to score and do that, and they're probably giving all their starters, time to, get off the field and heal before the playoffs. So if we total up this last season, you can have a look, and then that's what you see. So in quarter 1, -32, quarter 2, -28, quarter 3, -6. And interestingly, in this one, in the fourth quarter, we were actually had a pretty good point differential. Now, some of that was built by this, this Jaguars game. There was basically only a couple games, though, where we were able to do that, because if you take the total number of games, and you can see here in week 3, 7-19, 17-7. So that point differential was built in 4 games, because we had 7 games where we were outscored in the fourth. So not great. And then obviously you can see, that was the only quarter, and that point differential in the fourth is not going to offset the -32 in the first, the -28 in the second. We're basically starting most games from behind, and then, having to come from behind. And that's what ends up with that 6-10 record and the -52 point differential for the entire season. So that's Kyle's first season as a 49ers head coach, but, and again, obviously a rebuilding season, really working on the cohesiveness of the team, getting, the coaching in place and all that, but not a great season and obviously didn't make the playoffs. So next video, we're going to move on to 2018, and you can see at the bottom of the sheet here, there's a number of years to go through. So we'll break this out into a bit of a mini series, and we'll go through each season. We'll give everybody a chance to kind of look at each season and how it's been. And then what we'll do is in the final one, we'll have a master where we can total all the different seasons. We'll have a look at all the different point differentials, as well as total how the playoffs went in our playoff years, because I've summarized that as well. So hope you're having a great day. We'll talk again real soon when video 2 comes up for season 2018. And if you remember the 2017 season, do you remember some of that year, the rebuilding years after we lost? What was it? It was 2011, 2012 with Kaepernick, I think it was. But if you remember those years, feel free to comment. And how do you feel about the fourth quarter games that we've played? How do you feel about our red zone performance? And how do you feel about Kyle and some of his play calling as we get into the latter half of the game? So interested to hear your thoughts, and we'll talk again real soon. Have a great one.